Hello and welcome to the Empower Couples podcast, where here you get modern, non-boring relationship advice for you and your partner to communicate like pros, fight smarter, and stay on the same team no matter the challenge that you face. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Jocelyn Freeman, but you all just know us as the Freemans.
And this episode is about establishing your family values and evaluating your priorities together.
And you may be a family of 2. You might be a family of 10, but regardless, you are a family, you are a team. And maybe you've done this in the past. It's actually more rare. I think it's like less than 5% of couples that we talk to have ever sat down and really written out their values. They might have, like, on their initial dates kind of been like, oh, I value family and I value, career growth. And so sure, maybe when you were dating, you talked about things that you value, but very few couples have actually sat down, even when they got married. And some of you are now like 30 years into marriage, like evaluated what is important to you. What do you value? So we're going to be diving into this. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a huge topic because it's what, number one, is your guidance to making more difficult decisions down the line, not having things feel like they're the same for years and years. And that's the point it brings us to, all right? I mean, as if you're following our podcast at all, these topics are usually either what we're going through now and learning through it, have gone through, have principles around, or we hear from many couples.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case for you, this values conversation is going to be wonderful. If there's a harder decision or big life decision to make, that's the main thing around values. And typically, you can have things just keep going the way they're going, or we make decisions based on how we feel, not on what we're committed to.
Ooh.
And all of us are going to live better lives. And by better, I also mean not as back and forth, as indecisive, stressed, or even staying the same. Like Think and Grow Rich talks about, successful people are those that make decisions quickly and then don't change their mind. And that's really a part of this, I would say. Because when we say you make decisions on how you feel, it's a very reactive way to live, rather than when you know what you're committed to, as in your values, then you come back to them and make decisions from there. You can really stay more of the course.
And, life is kind of this autopilot. If you're not conscious, it can be this autopilot day in, day out. You almost feels like Groundhog Day. And you may be distracted by other things. Other people may be dictating to you what your priorities are because you kind of just have to keep up with things, right? So it's like, oh man, we just have to keep up with all our friends, barbecues and the kids' soccer games and these things to do. And so you might not actually feel in harmony with your values. And actually, a big reason for people feeling either some degree of depression, maybe not clinically diagnosed depression, but just like a down feeling or even feeling stressed is because you're not in harmony, in alignment with your values and with what you prioritize. And this really resonated on our web class last week. We were talking about ending the battle for fairness, overcoming overwhelm, and the resentment from all these roles we have to play in life. And this really resonated, talking about the values and this priorities exercise. And you're going to want to listen all the way till the end, because once we give you this exercise and kind of break down the steps, we actually have a template. So if you're one of those people that likes to have a worksheet template to work from, we're going to share with you at the end how you can get access to one that we have for you. I also want to make sure before we dive in that those of you listening who are in Arizona or near Arizona know that we are hosting our last in-person couples workshop of the year on October 9th, 2022. Yes, this is our favorite, and I think this is either our 50th or 51st. I lose the exact
50 this time.
Okay, we're at 50. Yeah, so it's even hard to keep up with the count, but I can't believe we've hosted 50 in-person events for couples. So go to thecouplesworkshop.com. You can read all about it, see why it's so popular, why it sells out every single time. We'd love to see you in October.
So quick check here. When we talk about your priorities, that's more of the actions that you're going to be taking. So we're really linking this, that your actions or your priorities should be your stepping stones, your actions that go towards your values. So that's how we're linking these two together. And I just want to do a check here for all of us, because what you say is a priority to you is not necessarily what your actual priority is.
Ooh.
If we're going to see and determine what your actual priorities are, we would look at what you do the most.
Ooh. Can you give an example? So, like,
Well, yeah, of course. So if I say I value, because this is going to come up later for us, right? Like more financial freedom, and yet at night I'm mostly watching TV, or I take a lot of breaks to watch movies during the day. That's not quite aligned with what you say your priority is. So just a gut check in here for you listening. And again, it's for all of us.
mm-hmm.
What you will say to yourself that you prioritize, or what your priority is, isn't necessarily it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at, what do I spend most of my time doing or not doing? And that is actually going to give you what you actually prioritize.
Yes.
You might actually be prioritizing comfortability, not quite laziness, but a certain status quo feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You might, if you're avoiding hard conversations, and you prioritize keeping the peace over authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really what leads us into determining what you actually value, and are you in alignment with it?
Yeah, so we're going to go into two sections. First section will be your values. Someone actually asked us to help create more examples of clarifying your values. Then we're going to get into more detail of this powerful exercise we did over the weekend, even kind of going back to one of our exercises that we have had for years, and really got priorities that will take us through the end of the year, specific actions and habits that we want to be focusing on. But let's go into values first. So defining what a value is, and this is about a core value for ideally you two as a couple. Yes, we know you are two separate beings and you may have some deviations from each other's, but we want to invite you together as a team to clarify, what are your core values as a couple? What is it that our marriage, our partnership really wants to keep as the North Star for us? So the definition of a value: one's judgment of what's important in life. Or you could think of them as your guides in evaluating things, right? If you see decisions that you have to make, the values help you evaluate that and the decisions that you make. But again, you have to ask yourself, have you two sat down and ever checked in on what you two value? And if not, then you're going to really love this. So some examples: health, family, freedom, adventure, nature, success, growth, excellence, simplicity, community.
Wow, good list.
We could keep going, right? Like, there are obviously probably hundreds of different words that you could use for your values, but truly in this season, and I think that's a big thing we talked about on the web class last week too, was your values can shift in different seasons. Now, you may have like the same values as like a foundation. For example, you may value integrity no matter what, like no matter what season you're in. However, when we're thinking about these, because we're going to invite you to create 4 to be your North Star for this season, it can adjust, because if you think about it, let's say as an arbitrary number, you have 10 core values as a couple. Well, in this season, there are 4 that are going to rise to the top. Because it's different. Like, our life right now is so different than it was 2 years ago. Yes, do we have some of the same foundational values? For sure. But in terms of what our North Star guiding light is, what our values that we're focusing on right now, they're very different than they were a couple years ago, because we're parents now. It's a different season for us in terms of what we're focusing on with financial goals that we have. Our lifestyle just looks different. And so that's why we want to encourage you to create 4 values for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting to think about. We mentioned this on the web class. We think of values or core values as something that is sort of fixed, but it's not really, because you get into different seasons where, just as you're saying, kind of rise to the top. So I think it's a good place for us to give the examples of ours.
Okay.
So
for right now, this season.
Yeah, and I want to give you an example. And for us, what we valued before we were parents, this is going to be kind of more obvious for those that are parents, but we did value connection and community and
travel.
yes, travel and sort of building a network and really all of that. There is a strong value still that like significance and influence is a core value of ours. Like we want to influence and impact and share the messages. That's why we do this podcast to couples to communicate better, fight strong, or fight smarter, be stronger, be more aligned, all of that. And it still is a value, but to the point of this whole conversation, now that we're having Sky and we're revisiting our values, that one's not necessarily making the top 4.
Not the top 4, right, exactly.
And that's what's sort of been interesting or making it kind of a challenge to make the next step on, as we've been talking about, where should we live? And why this decision, which we haven't come to yet, seems like we have a back and forth is it does seem like a pull to us that we live in Arizona that fulfills the core value of course, community and network and sort of influence and significance, where seemingly the value of family, of multi-generational living, and all that comes with being around family, having family support, creating that longer legacy of cousins and nephews and nieces and grandparents for Sky, that's really making its way to the top of the list.
Yeah.
And so now when we're deciding where's the best place for us to live, we're now really evaluating between those two values. And we acknowledge it's not an easy conversation. And of course we want to be in the place of possibility, not one or the other, but that's where we're at. So the family, the multi-generational living, that's now kind of a new top value for us. What were some other ones? Yeah,
so the 4 for us right now, because we've been talking about this a ton on our morning walks. It's been a big clarifying season for us. So family, I would say also memories would be a word. I know that's kind of an interesting word to use as a value, but for us with Sky, it's about making memories and together as a couple. So family and then memories being a separate one, and then our financial future. And so for us, it's really about us thinking bigger and not wanting to feel as though we are limited in the choices. Like, do we send her to a Montessori school or do we get a second house? We want to be able to do all the things, right? And of course not need more or want more than we really need, but that financial future. And then the 4th one I would really say is about like deep community connections. And that's one where honestly we weren't living it. Like we were kind of in a more cocoon season with, being in baby mode in the first 9 months.
Year.
And so for us, we're like, okay, well, that's a top value. So we're setting up time. I mean, Aaron just got back from a meeting with 2 guys. I'm meeting up with girlfriends here multiple times soon. And
we're doing the couples workshop. We were like, we're doing a couples workshop in the next 3 weeks. That came from that value.
Yep.
We're also setting up later in October more of a
community connection
for couples, right?
Yep.
Not like an event for couples, but to get people together that we don't necessarily know but want to come together and connect. And we're putting that in. So you can see how all of our priorities and our actions are starting to be driven by the recognition of what our top values are.
Right, exactly, and it helping make decisions. So if you're one of those people that likes to have more specific prompts, I can give it to you this way for the 4. One of them could be a personal trait or attitude focus that each of you want to be focusing on. So an example could be the value of personal awareness or reliability, right? So that's kind of more of like an internal trait you want to embody. So that could be one.
Yeah, maybe integrity, authenticity, openness, flexibility.
Yeah, that's great. A second prompt could be one that's related to the lifestyle you're creating. So for example, freedom, or maybe you're actually looking for more simplicity in your lifestyle. So that could be more of a lifestyle oriented value. Another could be a characteristic of your marriage. And so that could be valuing connection, or maybe it's resilience, because maybe you're going through a hard season. And so you know that you two value resilience and getting through tough seasons. And so you need to focus more on that.
Kindness, compassion,
respect,
love, grace.
And then 4th one could be a characteristic for your family. So it could be fun or learning. So that those can be 4 prompts to help you clarify, the different categories, right? So you have like an attitude, you have the lifestyle oriented one, marriage, and family. But regardless, you want these 4 values to be something you both agree on. Again, you have your differences. You have the things that you each, like one of you might value art and the other person's like, I don't really value art that much, but I value like adrenaline activities, right? And that's okay. You can have those differences. But this is an exercise of you two focusing on the partnership. And that's a communication practice, is how do we figure out what we both agree on? Okay, now with those 4 core values, let's dive into your priorities. Because like Erin said in the beginning, you can say you prioritize or value family, but your actions have not been showing that that's a priority. So your priorities truly are, what do we want to give our time and our attention to? And if you think about it, those are assets you can't get back. You can't get back time. You can't get back what you're giving your focus on. It's like weeks pass by and sometimes I'm like, whoa, I cannot believe it's almost the end of 2022. And so life is going by really quickly. And so we need to pause and audit our time. What are we doing day in and day out, week to week? And are we moving in the direction of what's actually really important to us? The other reason that this is helpful is because you may say you value something like focusing on your financial future, for example. But what gets your attention is the stuff you can see right in front of you. Mm-hmm. The dishes all the time, cleaning up the house, or, oh, we've got to go to do this birthday party because we're obligated to go because it's our friend's kid's birthday. And so, literally your week can just become full of kind of the low-hanging fruit in a way, or like just the things that are obvious.
It's a really good way to say it, actually.
Yeah.
And so I brought the analogy up, actually not just analogy, the example for me on the web class was about the dishes, right? It's like every time I walked past the sink, if I saw a cup or a plate in there, I would wash it. And so you think that's not a big deal, but the way you said it, what's in front of you, it's such a great way to look at your priorities, what gets your time and attention. Because, I was saying that building community and connecting with couples and doing group events and teaching, that was all a priority for me. Mm-hmm. When it becomes too, I think, big and theoretical, it creates sort of this gap for you just to do whatever is in front of you. Mm-hmm. So, all right, does it seem like that big of a deal? Was me washing cups and dishes keeping me from, living out this value? Who knows? But if I looked at what do I prioritize and I wrote out all my actions and you, the listener, were like looking at it, you would think what I prioritized was an organized, clean house over anything else. Mm-hmm. Because I was doing that probably more than reaching out to people or finding venues and, messaging other people to get involved with inviting to a great community event.
Yeah, or you could say, you really value having family moments together, you, your partner, and your kids. But if you really look at your schedule, what you actually have is a ton of errands planned and all these sports games, and they don't actually get quality time with you. And so you can go, oh, interesting. Maybe we actually need to prioritize, these things on our bucket list and the actual connecting moments that we can have as a family, and maybe slow down and not fill our calendar with so much to do. And so we did this in a specific way this weekend. It's awesome. And we actually have the worksheet up on our fridge. And we'll, again, share with you about how you can get a template that we have for this in a moment. But what we did over the weekend was we took those values. And you can either just use those words that you created as your 4 values, or you can then connect that to a certain category in life, right? So you could... for us, the financial future is pretty clearly about finances, but we also have one that's related to our physical health, and we have one that's related to our marriage. So you can choose to do it either way. We have a specific format that we liked to use.
I'll just read ours really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
We took the values and we created the categories. So we did this route. So ours are mindset, spiritual, physical, financial, and then social/serving community, because that for me was really tying in more of the value, like serving community over social, because social could seem like you just go randomly wherever and friends and barbecues and things like that, where for me it's about serving. and family fun.
Yes. So within that, we then created very specific habits or actions, and a couple were goals, but most of them were action. So even under the physical, I can give an example. It's 10 minutes in the sun every morning because that's going to support our mental health, our physical health. I mean, it's just powerful. You could read up on the benefits of being in the sun. And also for us, we met at the gym. So exercise has always been important, but we just have not been in a rhythm since having our baby girl. Some weeks we would go 3 times, other weeks none. And so we have the habit is making it to the gym, each of us 3 times a week. Do you want to, what about the ones under social in the community? I think give those examples.
And we kept to 2 to 3 actions or priorities under each. And it's meet with someone for coffee each week. That's, I don't know if you're even taking that one on. That's just a big one for me. And I've already done 2, and it's only Monday. And so I'm really taking that one full on because, meeting with people, connecting with people, seeing what's out there in the community, getting myself out in the community as an extrovert, as a generator, for all of you that know those.
Human design.
Human design. That is so key for me, and that's a part of what has been missing.
Yeah.
Though, yes, it kind of took us spending more time in the house with Sky being so young. That's where I started to feel sort of a little bit of a lack because that's so important
isolated.
to me. The other one with serving community is host one gathering each month.
And then what about read the ones for us under the family fun? Because that's a big value, the memories, the fun together. What did we put there?
We have one new outing with Sky each week. And then we have a weekly check-in. It's actually good you brought this up because I forgot about this one. Me and you are supposed to have a weekly check-in in a new location. So outside of the house, find a fun place to go, a new vibe, a new environment, and sit down together. No particular like work or phone things, and just really check in on how we're doing. Yes, us, and how we're doing like on this values and priority. We call it our marriage challenge.
Yeah, we're calling it a marriage challenge. You could actually come up with a fun name for it. But again, we have this sheet connecting our values to then these priorities. And the reason that they are actions or habits is because, look, if you make everything a goal, like let's say one of your top values right now is like financial freedom, and if you wrote like a bunch of goals only, the thing is you have to break down goals into smaller actions that help you achieve that goal. Right? And that's what people miss a lot of time when they're creating goals and focus. Like they might be like, okay, let's set a goal of, I don't know, saving an extra $1,000 a month. But you have to break that down. What are the actual habits that's going to have you do that? Or separate from financial, let's say you two have a health goal because you know that your health together is actually having you be more sluggish and not have a great attitude towards each other, sometimes even self-conscious. And so you're focusing on your health. Well, if you just set a goal of, well, we both want to, put on 10 pounds of muscle and lose 10 pounds of fat, just as an example. Well, what actions and habits are going to get you there? Right? It's, let's only eat out once a week and let's exercise 3 times a week, right? That's what's going to help you actually achieve those things. So that's a big reason we put those specific actions and habits beneath. And I'm telling you guys, this has really added some energy and life into our relationship and house right now because look, it's almost the end of the year. If you're listening to this close to when it's posted, we only have...
It is kind of funny for you to say that. I think it's September 20th.
It feels close to me.
It feels like it's like erasing a whole almost quarter.
It's the final quarter of the game here, right? And this is when people either just kind of give up. I mean, this is where a lot of people kind of backtrack. End of the year. And, especially health, people can backtrack a lot. But also people can just kind of lose sight of really where they want to head. And you and I have always had a habit of actually kind of starting our refocus on next year this time of year. Like we don't start in January.
Yeah, I think that's why it sounds funny to me actually.
Exactly.
I'm like, I look outside, it's like summertime, it's like 102 degrees out here still, and you're like, well, we're at the end of the year.
Well, we do live in Arizona. But okay, so for those of you who I know were kind of like, yes, Freeman's, please, we need a template for this, because I know that some of you are going to really love this idea of having your values written out and then having your priorities beneath it and having that up on your fridge, because it's got to be somewhere visible, you guys. If you do this once and then it ends up just in your notebook or the drawer, I promise you're going to lose sight of it in a week or two. So we actually have a template that is normally a part of our largest program that we have called the Couples Experience, which that's normally priced at $1,000 unless we're running some kind of a special. However, this is where it gets exciting. We are going to take that bonus template and sheet, one of the exercises that we have, and add it into one of our smaller programs called the Communication Mastery Bundle, because this can sometimes be a little bit more achievable investment-wise for you. So the Communication Mastery Bundle, by the way, is something all of you want to have if at all you're wanting to get better at your communication, your conflict resolution, how you two work together, and overcoming challenges. I mean, if any of those, communication, conflict, overcoming challenges, or even connection is important to you, then the Communication Mastery Bundle truly is going to be supportive. So we are adding in our template for this values and priorities exercise into that program. It's not normally included. And we also, for those of you who are listening to this episode, we're not going to put this anywhere else. It's not going to go in an email blast. We're not going to post about it on social. By you hearing this episode, we're going to give you a coupon code to take $100 off. So not only is the bundle already discounted to $200, we're giving you a coupon code to take $100. So you're paying $100 for a ton of tools and resources and exercises. Enter the coupon code BUNDLE100, all lowercase, all together, BUNDLE100, and the URL will be linked in the show notes below. But if you want to type it into your browser right now, it's onlinecouplesworkshops.com/communication bundle. So again, that's going to be linked in the show notes. Use the coupon code BUNDLE100 to take that and get it 50% off the already discounted price. Get the values and priorities exercise in there as a bonus as well. And truly take on this exercise. Don't have this be a nice episode you listen to and you're like, wow, good idea, and you don't discuss it. Because look, life is short. And you're either on the same page, headed in the direction of what's important to you, or you're actually living a life that's kind of by default. And a lot of times what can be dictating your focus is other people telling you what you prioritize. You know, work telling you what you prioritize, and maybe your friends and all the invites you get are telling you. And so you too need to sit down, get on the same page, and create this clarity. Don't live a life by default. Live a life by design. Ooh, do you like that tagline?
Wow, I just fell out of my chair.
Okay, let me say it again. Don't live a life by default. Live a life by design. So this exercise is going to be adding some inspiration, some clarity, some connection between you two. Please do tell us if you do this exercise. We can't wait to hear about what your values are, how it helps you clarify your priorities, and make sure that you take advantage of that Communication Mastery Bundle discount. We love you, we're here for you, and we will talk to you on the next episode.